This is technical glitch or the speciality of digital world. And anyway, I welcome you all because I really I am thankful to Knauf Sealing Solution and particularly Shraddha and Mr. Naresh Duble to taking care of this particularly a very important subject. And post COVID, we have realized that this has become a more cause of concern for everyone. Earlier, people may be reluctant. Now, everybody is aware what is like infection control and what kind of airborne, and particularly in the healthcare sector, this becomes a very important issue. So now to start with, we'll start with the next slide. The hospital associated infection. So hospital associated infection, this is most infection that becomes clinically evident, and after 48 hours of hospitalization are considered hospital acquired. So the direct cost of healthcare associated infection in UK alone is 1 billion GBP, that is British pound, each year. And antimicrobial copper is the most effective touch surface material, killing greater than 99% bacteria within 2 hours of exposure. No other materials such as silver containing coating come close to this. Now, why I am saying this, particularly I am talking about two level of surfaces. 80% infection happens through touch surface. So we have to be very, very careful. So there we are trying to show the effect of copper. Next slide, please. Antimicrobial copper. Now, next slide. Why copper? Copper and copper alloys have intrinsic antimicrobial property. With well-documented efficacy against a wide range of pathogens, the Copper Development Association, that is CDA, has conducted a series of laboratory tests under the environmental protection. And good laboratory practices, that is GLP protocol, that have provided evidence that copper surface kills microbes in a matter of hours. Can you switch over? Next. I already spoken that. Now next. So there are two types of way of controlling hospital acquired infection. One is environmental control, you must have seen, and one is administrative control. Here we are going to talk about environmental control against hospital acquired infection, because administrative control you must have seen hand washing and what kind of a protocol or standard operating procedure an hospital should carry forward. So here our concern is more into the environmental. So next slide. So the physical properties of antimicrobial copper. Antimicrobial copper isn't just a pure copper. It's a shorthand for a host of copper alloys that can be formed into durable, wear resistance, stand up to harsh environment, and can retain details and finish over time. Affordable. Affordable touch surfaces available in a variety of colors and finish options. Because sometimes you have to match the decor of this thing, so you can make use of the alloy accordingly. Next slide, please. Products formed within the combination of steel and antimicrobial copper. An antimicrobial product could be manufactured in combination of material. The touch surfaces could be in antimicrobial copper and the remaining in steel. This is done in order to reduce the cost. People always say, sir, it is very expensive. This is very expensive. We cannot afford to have a copper. So we say, use the copper where there is a touch surface. So taking into account the budget, it is expected of the industry to consider all antimicrobial copper products, and this too is not very expensive. Next slide. Now in the next slide, you will be able to see, here you could see the handle where we touched is only of copper. Next, You can have a full copper alloy and you can have this thing. Next, please. Now you have to keep on checking up one by one. Huh? Okay. No, second. There is one more slide just prior to this where you could see the hand washing area where we touch, the grab bar where we hold. Next. The copper surface installed in the sampled, that is 3 intensive care unit rooms filled with copper component. What is that? Over the patient table, IV pole, monitor pen, bed lever or visitor chair arms, and you could see even the scissor or the knife where we hold. And you see the next slide where you can see the containers. Next. I think if I take a control, I'll be able to do that. Now you don't worry, I'll handle. So here you could see the chair arms, you could see the patient rooms, you could see the fixtures, all can be copper and it is very copper. And even the medical staff area, that is the most infected area in case if it is not maintained in a proper way. Stethoscope, it touches everybody's body and the level of infection you can have wherever you are holding. Similarly, the chair, the only thing which you have to remember is antimicrobial copper's do's and don'ts. Use antimicrobial copper product as much as possible. They would help to significantly reduce the healthcare acquired infection. If you remember our forefathers, we used to use copper vessel in our house. Nowadays, we have forgotten that and we are now living it only with the five-star hotel. You see the copper, vessels. So remember one thing, please ensure that no antimicrobial copper product is coated, waxed or lacquered. And different finishes, how you can have antimicrobial products can produce the different colors and finishes. However, in order to do so, the manufacturer would need to use different alloys that even been registered as an antimicrobial. The chemical composition of each of these alloys varies significantly, and hence the costing for the wanted finish might differ substantially. Nevertheless, the product can be given various colors and finishes. Suppose you want to match with the steel, you can always add nickel. But sometime when we are mixing up the alloy, we have to be careful because it also has a cost factor. Now I'm just showing you some copper component like bed rail, and even you can see the mouse. The computer mouse is very common source of infection. You may sneeze, use the mouse, after that you leave and somebody else comes and helps it and he can pick up the infection. Similarly, in Japan I had seen even the escalator railings have been of copper. The metro rail, where you maximum people hold their bar, that can be of copper. So how to tell whether antimicrobial product is genuine or not? So new product bears the Cu plus, that is copper specific mark, which signifies the products are capable of continuously killing pathogenic microbes even in between cleans. So they are listed among offering from other companies in the product directory on www.antimicrobialcopper.org. Now you have to understand one more thing, that it is not just the copper you put in. There is a percentage of copper involvement to kill the bacteria. 99% copper kills very rapidly, but you know that you cannot have a 99% copper totally because copper is a soft material. So minimum 66 to 67% of copper content is essential to carry forward on this. This is the kind of a symbol which you will be getting it, antimicrobial copper, where you will find the Cu plus symbol. Now, material and specification, which we also try to take care during the infection control, what all kind of a material you should use. Number one, while selecting the finishing and furniture, make sure that it is material is cleanable, material with standard repeated cleaning. You have realized during the COVID, the cleaning process is repeatedly happening, and the material has to have the finish which should long last and easy to maintain and repair, that is durable, resistant to microbial growth, that is metal, acrylic, mineral, or copper in all touch surfaces, and non-porous. Sometimes people think granite or marble we use, they have microporous and it can give tendency to grow the fungal growth. And similarly, seamless. Joint means infection. As many joints, that much you are giving chance to infection. Use the material which is seamless, or if at all you want to use the joint, fill the joint and finish it with material like epoxy or anything so that it looks absolutely seamless. Now, the structure wise pre-engineered building, that is performance will be preferred consistently. Now, some of the example I am trying to show you, the dialysis unit, how it has been finished with the medical this thing, and then hand wash station. Here you can see the kind of material we are using. Then wall finishes in the laboratory. You can use the solid mineral surfaces where it becomes easy to maintain and carry on. I think somebody, Sham, you have to mute yourself because your voice is disturbing. Thank you. Now, you have to take a note. Right now, we talked about touch surface. Now we come to the very important aspect is indoor air quality. You know that during COVID, lately it was described that it is a airborne and people were very careful afterwards. So initially the touch surface part was the one which is everybody was worried. So they were wearing gloves, they were wearing different material, covering the face with mask. All these were happening. Then when it becomes a airborne, then what happened was people were more concerned about the indoor air quality. And in indoor air quality, you have basically particulate, microbial, and gases. Now, you have to understand generally what we do, we have technological method to reduce risk of airborne transmission. We generally follow these three methods. Everybody is aware of this. First is pressurization. You know that negative pressure in isolation room with respect to surrounding, or positive pressure in OTs or procedure room with respect to surrounding. So usage of this pressurization is very common. Now second is dilution. You have a high ventilation rate, that is air changes per hour controls the particle by removal through ventilation. During COVID, when as a IGBC chairperson for the healthcare rating system, we came out with the the guidelines that how to handle the air quality during the COVID related issue. So in the dilution, what happens? You push the air from one side and take it out from the other side. And during COVID, we made sure that when you push the air, that is also filtered and gone through a procedure. And when you throw out also, you gone through the procedure so that it doesn't pollute the environment. And third one is the filtration. So use of pre-filter, microwave filter, HEPA filter. But you have to remember, filtration is what we have been using, and filtration means it is trapping the pathogen. That means the filter bank is a colony of pathogen. So then what we thought, we should introduce the word purification. That is destroying infectious agent in air through exposure to ultraviolet radiation. So UVGI or PHI is the photohydroionization, or HEPA MD. HEPA is high efficiency particulate arrestants and MD is microbial destruction. Now, I'll be just giving you, there is two type of thing which we are very much particular, that is AII, that is airborne infection isolation. refers to a isolation of patient infected with organisms spread via airborne droplets. For example, patients suffering from COVID, measles, TB, chickenpox, and area of such as an emergency department or ICU. PE is a protective environment. It is refers to the specialized area for patient whose immune mechanism are deficient or undergone a stem cell transplant. That time your immunity level is so low that you have to keep them in a different environment. So that is called the protective environment. Now, generally the pressurization, when we people generally question, sir, how many pascals we should keep, what should be the level? So this is already published in the document where we try to say the room static pressure in ward, toilet, etc. is minus 20 pascal. That is, when you see the ventilation frequency, it is almost 12 times per hour. And it is a heavily contaminated area. And ward goes next is in minus 15 pascal, and patient corridor goes minus 10 with a 6 times per hour the air changes and ventilation frequency. And buffer room is minus 10 pascal, treatment room is also minus 10 pascal, and generally the medical staff corridor and medical staff office and dressing room we keep it minus 5 pascal, because there they use lot of protective methods and there is a standard operating procedure for them. Now I'll tell you some of the examples related to UVGI. UVGI, where all we can use on coil, on in the air conditioning duct, and UVGI configuration. You can see upper room UVGI. Upper room UVGI, why we do? You have to understand that UV light is the way it kills the bacteria or germs. It is also harmful if it is directly witnessed by your eyes, or it is harmful for your skin. Now, I'll just show you. There is a ceiling jet air sterilization unit, which was also popular. And this is how it looks and fits into the false ceiling. So UVGI ceiling jet will take care of the entire room air, airflow and return airflow. Then we had one of a kind UVC LED based air purification device. When people saw that UV is so harmful, then how I can make the UV still safer for the public at the same time without losing the function. So here in an existing system, people always worry, I'm not going to change my entire air conditioning system post COVID because I can't afford. So what can I do? So now you could see the UV area, like you are seeing those blue spots. This particular light will do the total killing of germs and keeping our area very well, well protected. Now this is one of the issues. Now the Knauf ceiling people are already doing this conference, and they are the one who have already introduced this into our country. The problem is ultraviolet is, if it is not put up in a proper way, it is not maintained properly, it also gives a lot of issue. So here we are also using the ultraviolet, but it is in LED based. So air purification is happening at the same time, safer in environment. Now, designed for all aircon systems. Some people say, sir, you may come up with the ideas, but I am working in a small, nursing home where I'm running my show in a small garage or some servant area or some small room.
Dr. Chandrashekhar sir, Naresh here. I just want you to go back a slide, and I wanted to make a couple of points. The previous slide, we see
Previous one.
Yeah, previous one. So, just for, there's a new innovation which Knauf Seating Solution has come up with. As sir said, one addition only, because it is LED innovation. The UVC which is coming out of this is only monochromatic single plane up to 1 feet. Behind the device, away from the device 1 feet, there is no radiation. available and cleans the entire air coming into the room completely. That's the unique advantage we have. And the most important point is it get retrofitted into existing ceiling. There are accessories and clips available which just get attached and play. So, sir, anything you wanted to say about the feature of like air which is getting delivered, getting clean, and advantage of that for the hospital facility?
No, I'll carry on because these are methodology which I had to actually sensitize people with. Now some
Correct.
people say that I have a split AC, I have a cassette AC. This can be only applicable to your regular centralized AC. So we have also the central air cleaner is suitable for all type of HVAC system such as air handling unit, fan coil unit, ductable, TFA, HRV, cassette, split AC, etc. Without any modification. We can even customize the system to fulfill your specific need. What has happened during the COVID time? You must have seen a lot of people started working from home, and people thought that the polluted air, we can put a air air purifier in our house. And you know very well that when air purifier can work better only when your doors and windows are closed. Now what happens? You have closed all the door window. Number of people in the house is also increased because everybody is working from home, and that has given up to the rise of CO2 level. Now it is better you have to have a air changes. So instead of having this kind of a purifier, we can always modify your existing system and also keep the air changes in the room so that you are in a healthy environment. So these methodologies have already come into the market. For the reason post COVID we face a lot of difficulties of this nature. Now the test result we have seen is SARS COVID virus kill rate is almost 99%. Bacteria kill rate, microorganism is 100% kill rate on E. coli and 70% kill rate on Bacillus. PM 2.5 reduction, 90% efficiency. PM 1 and PM 2.5 is 95. And volatile organic compound reduction, when you get the odd smell, the gases, that is 90% efficiency in VOC. So, if you see here, of course, this slide is with the animation, but here I am not able to play that. This polluted air goes with the filtered air, and there are this, we call it trap and kill technology. That means it is not only trapping by filtration but killing it. That is, you have a stage one where you use pre-filter, which is effective for PM10, and this is grade HDPP and long lasting filter. Then stage 2 comes where polarization needles are there and electronic change. This polarization needle, what it does is effective on microparticles, makes them thicker so that they get trapped. Then stage 3 is the agglomeration where dual polarity, that is non-arcing, trap and kill germs. It is effective on PM 2.5. So the next stage, people use HEPA. HEPA is high efficiency particulate arrestants. But now we do MD, that is microbial destruction. What happens in some of the cases, you don't want to change the whole existing system. So you can use this HEPA MD. It has a 4 level. The first
Dr.
level
Sir,
of
Dr. Anil Diwan from SPA Delhi and Dr. Anil Sood have raised their hands. You can type your question in the chat, sir.
you can type the question in chat, and after that you will be able to I'll be able to answer. First you will be going through because some of your question might have been answered in the coming slides also. So you can chat your question, and Shraddha will be able to take it up and sum it up at the end of this presentation. So here HEPA MD we have four level of filtration. The first level, you have a exposition to a non-thermal plasma captured by electrical media. That is the second stage. And third is a molecular filtration. And fourth is a molecular trapping. That means you are getting 100% clean and fresh, filtered air. The microbial destruction happens at the first stage. So destruction of airborne microorganism by exposure to strong electrical field and to oxidative species in unique non-thermal plasma chamber. So now plasma chambers are used here at the first level. Second level is biological decontamination and high efficiency particulate arrestant. Charged material exiting from stage 1 are captured by an electrically active media where organic materials are continuously exposed to the plasma ion. Then comes the third, which is catalytic conversion. That is, oxidant chemical species are removed by a catalytic monolith noted by ozone and anodes. Now, last is the molecular trapping, that the organic and mineral volatile molecular pollutants are absorbed onto a activated carbon medium. So this is how you get, and now you get like a mobile air decontamination unit, which we have tried it in one of the AIMS ICU, pediatric ICU. We didn't know what was the situation. So we did a study through our senior resident. What was the air quality prior to fixing this? And when we fixed this, what was the improvement without doing any changes in the existing air conditioning system? It was like a cupboard. It was standing in one of the corners. And similarly, you have a ceiling air decontamination unit, and this mobile protective environment is having a total protection, particularly the burn cases. The burn cases are very highly infectious. So their infection, etc., is controlled within this parameter, and the ceiling diffuser system for air decontamination for high risk zone. Then you have a freestanding air sterilization unit, which is also quite popular with these parameter inside. Then the benefits of air disinfection technology are proven protection against the transmission of airborne pathogen, proven benefits to the healthcare sector, effective against MRSA, norovirus, and various kind of avian flu, including even now they have tried and tested that COVID-related issue, and effective against unpleasant odor. Now, use of COVID robotics has also come into practice in some of the private institutions. There are robots that are used for contagion and virus control that are able to generate high concentration ultraviolet rays that destroys contagious disease. These can be used most effectively in decontamination or detoxification of a COVID healthcare facility, wards, transport facilities, and the like. It looks like this, and it is operational when through the iPad or the mobile app. And when the operation theater or your particular this thing need to be decontaminated, you operate it, and it goes to every corner, and with the UV rays, the entire area is decontaminated. Similarly, you have a striking solution or striking robo. When a patient is discharged from a ward, it just takes 5 to 7 minutes to send this robo, and you can get the total decontamination and the germicidal light that quickly destroys the pathogen that can cause infection. You can send it across even inside the toilet and make sure that everything is disinfected. And now we have also micro solution proven to sanitize almost 99% contaminants, including Clostridium difficile and MRSA, in 48 seconds. And similarly, we have a UV technology in clean and disinfect, including we do the equipment like wheelchair. So now lot of methodologies are available how to do the disinfection. Current CDC Center for Disease Control guideline recommends negative pressure rooms with anteroom for patient with hemorrhagic fever and use of HEPA respirator by person entering this room. When the patient has prominent cough, vomiting, diarrhea, or hemorrhage, and face shield or goggles will help to prevent mucous membrane exposure to potentially aerosolize infectious material in these situations. When we were working out a protocol for COVID guidelines, along with our central disease control in under Ministry of Health, we were working out to an extent how the person who enters with his gown and other thing, what kind of a protocol and SOPs to be done in case he vomits in your own gown, what kind of a handling of these things are to be done. So there are written guidelines and protocols. Now here I'll try to show you now what has happened. Government, after seeing the COVID parameter, they anticipated that most of the places now COVID or any infectious disease what the procedure will be there. So here we try to create a separate infectious disease ward as a separate building. It can be pre-engineered or prefab building. And this is how the process is, that you enter, you have an entrance lobby, you have the nurses and doctors room and the laboratory and paramedics on the one side, and they come and they change. And also, this is a donning and doffing area which you must have been now conversant. They first get into the sterile suit, and from the sterile suit they change, and then they go to the sterile corridor where they have to attend to this COVID or infectious disease patient. And the return route is also different, where they dispose of their waste and shower, and then they come back, and then they go back to their own this thing to change. And there is a space for plant room and a dirty room, etc., so that these parameters are going to be part of it. And nowadays, just to show you the similar thing in 3D, just this is the way the entry takes place, and then the other rooms where the doctors and nurses can change and go to the patient room, and then the toilets are attached, and then they come out and get into the change room, and finally they come out after changing and shower, they go out. So this is how this has been. This is one more thing. An advanced design concept was developed when they found how the patient room in a private ward can be designed. You could see the black arrow. That is the way the patient is taken in. And you could see the green arrow through which the support staff or nurse, etc., enters. And the red one is where they drop the biohazard material and change their dressing room and they come out. So this kind of a circulation was also worked out when the COVID and the highly infectious cases were to be handled. And particularly the healthcare workers were very much scared to enter such areas. And this is a common, room layout for the your isolation, where you have an empty room and you have an attached toilet. And here the pressurization, what I explained to you, that is been applicable here. Meanwhile, there was a demand that how the COVID ward should be designed. So we thought the COVID ward and also the evidence-based design, which is also very popular in our this thing, that how you connect with nature and nature becomes a great healer. So we thought, how can we work out in a way where today individual room is a not a easy proposition for every government hospital. So there, what we tried to do, we created a situation. Now you could see a series of ward which can be utilized in very multiple form. Either it can be a male and female, it can be, if it is a super specialty, it can be a neurosurgery one side and neurology one side, cardiology one side, cardiac surgery one side, and also meeting the norms of the MCI or now the Medical Commission, NMC, that the number of beds and the component can be handled. Even if you want, you could see a window at every bed head, and they can view out, and there is an open court where you can have a cross ventilation if you are not in a non-air conditioned area, and it can be a air conditioned area. Then the courtyard will give you the natural light and both the side for the worker as well as the patient will have his own this thing. And if it is a teaching hospital, obviously you have to have those teaching facility. And another benefit, if you see, the central wall between the two bed can take all the gadgets like your bedhead panel and medical gases, etc., etc. So overall, the thing will look like this, where if you can cordon off, you want to cordon off, you can cordon off. Even in the pressurization, you can segregate the zoning also, and lot of possibilities are already there in this kind of a ward. So this is how we work on the latest on the COVID ward, or even we call it evidence-based design, where you are connecting with nature. Nature is a great healer. I remember one incident once, in the Kaun Banega Crorepati, somebody, candidate was asking Amitabh Bachchan, sir, we would like to listen to one of the poetry which he was very popular for. So then he said, before that, I'll tell you on what background I wrote this poetry. He said, when I was injured in that coolie shooting and I was admitted in the Breach Candy Hospital, and Breach Candy Hospital is in Mumbai, adjoining a seashore. And his bed was placed in such a way that his head side was the window or the where he could see. He simply said, kindly turn the bed around so that I can enjoy the sea, and that inspired and get into this kind of a poetry. So end of the day, the result is nature is a great healer, and that daylight, nature, cross ventilation, air changes, these are the actual methodology where we, if you see the old, our houses or the design, everything was, everybody was not used to air conditioned place. It was a well cross ventilated, and we had also seen our studies that well ventilated space has cross ventilated space has always been no effect on any infection, whereas in air conditioned space you have to treat, otherwise you get into a lot of infection. So this is how I thought I could sum up with, and many thanks for your kind attention. Anybody who has, though we may have a limited time, but my email you can note down. I'm 24 by 7 available on email, and you can reach me with your questions or your any kind of somebody is doing research, somebody is doing project, or somebody is just for his interest or his own personal thing. You can access me. Thank you very much. Now, I think Shraddha, you can put up the questions so that we can see what exactly.
Sure, sir. So I think we have a couple of questions. The first question says, what happens when we have a lot of floating population in the hospital where caretakers are mobile and keep carrying microbes in and out? How do we address this situation? And I think GV sir asked the same question I think his question was when you were discussing the copper rods that in such case, does a doctor or a nurse have to use preventive gloves?
See, doctor and nurse have already have to follow the protocols or SOPs, whether they have to do the hand sanitizing or gloves, etc. So you should leave aside, because that is the administrative part of the particular hospital. And idea is that touch surface is always a more sensitive area. And similarly, when you are talking about crowd, yes, you are very right. We have witnessed some of the, area where I have seen people coming with the sweat, because the weather condition outside is so, humid, and they come with the sweat, and inside you feel so awkward. So that is where I talked about ventilation system, where forced mechanical ventilation, where you push the air from one side and take it out from other side. That itself gives you a this thing. If you want to see much more in detail, we have 2 3 version. that is a regular ventilation when the particular state or particular area has a proper weather condition, and hybrid where you have a mechanical ventilation mixed up with the air conditioning and a push out, and third one is the our normal air condition with AHU, etc. For this you can get into www.igbc.in, Indian Green Building Council, that is IGBC.in. If you go into that, you can go in for a COVID related document guidelines which we have given. There you can study the different type of what kind of air quality or the air conditioning system or the ventilation system we should use. Because when we make a guideline, it is for the entire country. So there will be district to district, there will be a different parameter. Okay, next.
Yeah. We have a question by Mr. Anil Diwan. He asks, what should be the new code, guideline, norms, and standards for the hospital now? I think it's a big question.
Yeah. Actually, what has happened right now, there are different piecemeal approaches happening. ASHRAE and ISHRAE is coming out with the air quality or ventilation norms. Similarly, IGBC has come up with both the combination of both the things. So these norms are coming, but only thing is one common norm in which all has to be compiled together, and it is yet to come. I think Bureau of Indian Standard also is now trying to compile, and Anil Diwan is also part of Bureau of Indian Standard when they were setting up some of the parameter. But right now, if you ask me that one consolidated everything norm, right now it doesn't exist anywhere. But in piecemeal, you will get number of norms, international as well as national.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And I think we have one more question by Dr. HSR Arora. He says UV radiations can pierce the clothing of a patient and caretaker as well as that of visitors. What do we do in that case?
See, UV radiation will happen only when you are exposed to that directly. Indirect radiation, that is why we also use, if you see the TB wards, etc., we use upper UVGI. That is, it the rays goes onto the ceiling and reflects. And generally what happens, we have calculated in different parameter how the like in initially we were thinking of COVID thing being heavy, and it will be only up to the 1.2 meter level high. The things will be there and we have to handle because they are thick and heavier. After that, researchers came out with the airborne parameter. Then when it is going upward, then we have to treat it at the one example I had tried. In one of the TB ward, I had seen the location of the UVGI, and that was protecting the patient. But a patient attendant sitting adjoining to that level, his eye level was hitting this thing. Therefore, placing of the UV is very important, and also you have to understand the movement of the people, and you have to protect. Direct exposure of UV is never ever advised. At least even these robos which we are using, we close the door, we are all outside, and it does in a remote area. So UV direct exposure is never advised. Thanks.
I think we have two more questions. One is from Mr. Shrikant. His question is, does the water used from a copper water bottle, rather, is that water infection free or is it free from bacteria?
One experiment was done where we had taken indalium, aluminium, stainless steel, and a copper, and kept the vessel, put some standard level of bacteria, kept it for overnight, and next day we could see the result. The copper vessel, if you remember our olden days, our people used to fill up the copper vessel at night, and early morning when they wake up, they used to drink the water. So the percentage of copper is directly proportional to kill rate. It can be killing in 1 hour, it can be killing in half an hour or 20 minutes or even 1.5 hours. But yes, the water which you keep will definitely have. Only thing is you have to understand the alloy, the percentage of copper in it. And I had initially said that copper has to be minimum 66 to 67% to get into a normal kill rate. More the copper content, you can have a kill rate at a faster rate, depending upon what kind of a usage you are doing. Next.
Sir, I think we have one last question, which says, why do we insist on mask when touch surface is a major concern of infection?
See, if you see the different paper published, some of the paper says there is no need of mask at all. Some paper said the source or where the infection can get into is through your nose or through ears. Some even local people started giving that you start talking it through, putting mustard oil or this and that. There are variety of research paper, but only thing is, if you remember, if a person who is infected, he should definitely have a mask so that he is not further, he is a potential carrier. He should not further spread it. But if your immunity is better, I don't think there will be any need. But protection is, there are different type of problem. In Delhi, you have so much of dust, so much of pollutant, that is always better to protect. But if it is going to lead to your breathing problem or even this thing, you should avoid. And only thing is you should try to avoid the crowd is the place where people refer that you should wear mask, because you are not able to control yourself on that. Anyone? There is one. What precaution we need to consider while planning new hospital for medical facility construction, as some countries concentrated on viruses as bioweapon? Oh, these are all debatable, because this bioweapon and all. See, right now, just for your information, I'll just, we are setting up a institution. Ministry of Health is setting up an institution called CBRN Center. CBRN means chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear disaster happens. How you decontaminate, then you take him to the casualty or the emergency area. Otherwise, he will be contaminating the entire patients right now there. So these are very specialized area, and bio, or even for that matter, the like Bhopal gas leak, or even the chemical weapon like Syria bomb blast which had happened, or even the nuclear thing. So for these, up till now, these were handled by the Ministry of Defense people. But now we are setting up for civilian, because these kind of incidents are, or the terrorism are happening in a much larger frequency which never used to happen earlier. So protection, and for that we need a decontamination area. There is a different protocol, and even the what you call the ambulance which brings the patient in also decontaminated, and this is a very specialized area of research. That in, you can always go to the Google and put it CBRN, or sometime it may be only letters will be here and there. It will be CBRN or CNRB, something like that, but idea is the same.
So there is
Okay.
one more
The
question
question,
saying, while using HEPA filters, what would be the turnaround time for air purification?
on
And will
that,
it influence infection rate?
see, it is not only this, because for this you have to be with the HVAC engineer who is going to design the volume of the air and the air changes and for particular reason. So that is a regular calculation is there. It is not a thumb rule that you can do something like that.
A couple of questions from my side. There are two areas. One is return air duct getting into the plenum. Okay, and how important it is to have a dedicated ducts for infection control? That's question number one. How do you deal in the areas and a hospital who do not have a return air, like using return air plenum? How do you really deal with, is the UVC is the right solution to do like what we have launched in Nuclear can give a solution for that?
Yeah, now I'll tell you. When the COVID got diluted, office started opening, the biggest challenge was the above the false ceiling, they were using the plenum for the return air. And that was a great challenge. And Ashray and Ishray, all the experts started working on that. And also, everybody came up with the answer that return air has to be through the duct. But the problem is, how are you going to handle those institutions of a larger area suddenly undergoing all these changes? That was a challenge. So, a lot of people came up with various UV parameter inside there. The risk factor also they found. You see, sometime because the biggest challenge we faced also for railways, the railway coach. You see, if COVID patient is going to sit, he gets down in between. Now somebody else is coming, he is going to sit. The air conditioning or air quality which is getting it. So these all work has been done. There are certain guidelines done. Still, the total 100% satisfaction is not there, but still people have come up with a solution. The larger plenum where they cannot do the ducting, return air ducting, they try to purify that area. There are a little different methodology which has to be explained in a separate kind of a, seminar, and a lot of people have done it. Because the same challenge came for the operation theatre. They said suddenly operation theatre wants to become a negative pressure. You have seen it during the COVID, they wanted a negative pressure. And now negative pressure means you need a little lobby before getting into the operation theatre. So they try to work it out how the corner or the last operation theatre can be made into negative, and with the minimum ducting and the pressurization, how they could do. So all these solutions are available, and the guidelines of ASHRAE and ISHRAE are very clear on that because they have done a lot of seminar and research. But only thing is, here our idea is people should be sensitized, and those who are keen on knowing this thing, you can have much better this solutions. Okay.
Yeah, one more question from my side is humidity levels in a hospital or a fresh air intake coming in. How does that works with infection control? How does that affect the infection? Because I've seen few hospitals which is collecting a dew drop on our ceiling products or on the wall and leading to fungi and growth and blaming on the ceiling end of the day. But what I think as an industry person is the buildings are breathing beyond norms they are designed for air control, and hence the humidity level going up.
I'll tell you a very clear-cut answer for this. We have faced it in a number of hospitals.
Correct.
The hospital, that is why I say healthcare air conditioning is a very specialized subject. It is not just anybody is doing air conditioning can do the healthcare air conditioning. We have faced a typical situation that in India there are some weather which are very good. You need not have air conditioning. So some guys have opened the window. Now the outside air is coming. Now, when you see, you must have noticed in number of hospitals where in the diffuser you will have a fungal growth. Now, this is where the problem comes. And if you seal all the window, a person feels, you see, you are not used to 24/7 air conditioned space. You are all used to breathe. And right now, you see this month of September, October, or November, we have a wonderful weather. We don't require air conditioning. So that is why the air conditioning control of relative humidity, where the heating element has to be done, and whether we are allowing. That is why we do the pressurization. Pressurization, what we do, the corridor, we keep it a positive pressure. Then in between the lobby, that is where you have a toilet entry and those where your air conditioning H is also, fan coil unit is also kept, that lobby, that goes into the negative pressure. Then the toilet goes into the more negative, and the shaft of the negative, the toilet is the extreme negative. And now room is in the positive pressure. That means transmission of airborne infection from room to corridor or corridor to room doesn't happen because of a barrier of the negative pressure in between. And this is where important is, in case you open the window outside, still your room is in positive pressure, and that is not traveling across because there is a suction or a negative pressure barrier in between. So these are all pressurization technique while designing. You have to work out. Then some people may keep the toilet onto the wall side, someone will be keeping into the corridor side. So it is design basis, and every design based on this, there are a lot of research and lot of solutions already available.
So sensitizing humidity for the hospital, what are the methods available for hospital owners or hospital designers? Because this is one complaint, maybe because of leakage, because of, like you said, somebody opening the windows. How
Yes,
do you really
because
mitigate those?
see, one thing very simple. The moment somebody is going to, you are designed for a particular condition. The moment that is tampered, your all design goes for a toss. See, if I am supposed to exhaust it from one side, push it from one side, everything has been planned. Suddenly you find there is, in between there has been opened up. Now the air has to move. Then it has not reached up to the place where it has to reach. It has already been bypassed. So therefore, the system designing has to be taken note, and that is why we, while designing, I always tell HVAC people along with the healthcare architect should also involve the clinician and paramedics, because they are the user, and sometimes they tell you the practical parameter, and then a person can come up with. And nowadays, I'll tell you one simple solution. In an ICU, there is a normal air change which is designed. Now, a gastro patient is there. He defecates or vomits. You know the smell. It will be horrible. And in a normal air change, by the time it gets cleared, the people, neighborhood, everybody will have a tough time. So, what is needed? We put one exhaust in the system and a crisis button or a alert button in the nurse's duty station. Something happens, the nurse presses the button and the exhaust system start working. But nurse is a busy lady, she may just push the button and go away, and outside 45-degree temperature may get inside. So you use the damper so that the air volume, once it is gone, then it comes back to its normalcy. So these kind of an arrangement. Now, if you are planning, this is a small arrangement or a small detailing which need to be added. Like that, in the healthcare, there are different type of such scenarios where healthcare, architect and also the HVAC engineer has to work hand in glove in these kind of parameters. And one
Thank you,
thing,
sir. I think we have exceeded around 14-15 minutes. But still, there are a couple of questions if you can read from the chat. Uh, One is about the basic difference between UV, UVC devices, which is, I think, yeah. Can you read the question, sir?
just I'm just seeing, just one second.
Three, four
What
long questions.
difference
One is
between
from
the
Kaushal Gupta.
different UV, UVC devices which are being used, the duct and the air source diffuser, which is more effective? See, first of all, UV itself is a chapter by itself. That is why we don't simply say, like our, I have put a HEPA filter, I have put a UV. So, like that, Three Idiots, all is well, all is well. It is not well. Whether it is working or not, it is not working. The dosage of UV, you just don't put the UV. You have to have the correct dosage. So, these are all specialist job. So, it is better we only sensitize ourselves that yes, the role of UV is important, but the dosage of UVs are of a greater important. And also, Naresh, you have talked about the return air duct and the cleanliness and all. You must have seen one, video about the RoboClean. If you see that, then you will find that the ducts are horribly, dirty, and it is very difficult to clean. Therefore, the RoboClean are being introduced so that you may think that the duct is very good and it has been transmitting the good air, but inside it is a tremendous. And there is one question: is it anybody? Somebody is talking. Is it safe to place UVC air purification at OP when open surgery happens? There are different type of operation theater and different type of demands of the air and the air changes. So nowadays, when you have the theater with the specialty organ transplant and various hybrid theaters are there. So it goes from theater to theater, not that just by putting a UVC. May be needed sometime, and some of the places it may not be needed at all. And it may also sometime, as per the requirement of the clinician, that should not be required. And UV doesn't mean that everywhere you have to place the UV. You have to have a rational usage of UV also. Any other? What precautions we need to consider while planning? That already been done. I think
the last one, infection control is a continuous process. That question.
infection control is a continuous process in a hospital campus, and the healthcare architect's role is usually over after the construction phase is over. Therefore, it is important to have a healthcare architect as a permanent member of the hospital operation team, along with the maintenance engineering team exists in the hospital. I will say in a different way, healthcare architect role is over when he is finished, but his role is that his finishing happens only when he set up a standard operating procedure, how, and the training is done where healthcare architect also satisfies himself that all the parameters which he has thought of or designed it are all met, and it is. See, in a design you might have done, but in the execution maybe you might not have achieved that. So that, and very important, I always say, is the periodic maintenance and monitoring of the functioning of the equipment. That is why I said all is not well unless you keep checking. So it is not necessary that he should be part of, but generally what happens in our larger hospital, we engage an architect for day-to-day operation and we train them so that he becomes a staff of that, because a consultant cannot be keep spending his time in the hospital. So we engage one architect, we train them, and then he takes care of. And whenever there is a complication is there, the specialist healthcare architect may be called for a meeting and a solution obtained. Done?
Yeah, over to you, Shraddha. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the passion and the details which you gave it. The whole range of spectrum of options are available. And thank you for helping us to position this UVC roof vinegar. The catalog is uploaded up there. You can go through it. Our team is present in your locations. They will be happy to come over and explain the solution which we have. Extremely simple and yet very effective when it comes to infection control, and humidity is where we play a major role in terms of providing a RH99 ceiling tiles and tiles like BioGuard, which has a whole range of resistance to fungus and bacteria and other particle growth, and infection control can be achieved through a proper intervention at right time. Thank you so much. Thank you each one of you for extending your time And thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar sir, for your time and guidance.